FM radio network. Come.
Tonight on Unleashed, Trump scores a major endorsement that we can all have a good laugh about. What's Glenn Beck's problem with Trump? This one kind of surprises me. And a lot of bad news for Hillary Clinton. Very bad news. It is Tuesday, January 19th, 2016, 11 p.m. in the Eastern Time Zone. Matt Connarton Unleashed starts right now.
Auto sequence starts. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Matt Connarton Unleashed. We are live and on the air on IPM Nation 1. And, of course, every Tuesday and Thursday night, we also have the honor and privilege of being carried on OTR FM, the premium channel on the OMTimes radio network. So welcome to our OTR FM listeners, as well as our IPM Nation listeners. And, of course, here at IPM Nation, we broadcast from the Uptown Auto Repair Studio in glorious Manchester, New Hampshire, powered by Ambit Energy. You can learn more how to save on your energy bill at ambitrabbit.com. And as far as the Uptown Auto Repair Studio, I am very pleased to announce, I can now say this officially, that we will be at the Uptown Auto Repair Studio. That will be our broadcasting headquarters for another year. So for the year of 2016, we will continue to broadcast live from the Uptown Auto Repair Studio on the IPM Nation live station. So very happy about that, and very happy and grateful to John Heichel, the owner and proprietor of Uptown Auto Repair, for all the support and for everything that he does for us. And we have some other things that we're working on together, which I'm excited about, which you'll hear about soon. And so a lot of good stuff going on. And a lot of bad stuff going on if you're Hillary Clinton. Some bad news. Some bad news in terms of polling data, which shows Bernie Sanders now with a commanding lead in New Hampshire for the first-in-the-nation primary. But something else I just saw right before we got on the air that, combined with the momentum that Bernie Sanders has, I think could be quite detrimental to Hillary's bid for the presidency. And I may have to revise my prediction, my grand prediction of Trump versus Hillary, with Hillary for the win. But we'll see. So we'll get into that a little bit more in a moment. And also, of course, there is some Trump stuff, as there always is. So we'll get into that as well. Last night on the show, you can get the podcast up if you want. That is at ipmnation.com/MCU live. I did some debate analysis. Monday nights were strictly on IPM Nation, but I did some analysis of the debate, which was Sunday night, the Democratic debate, of course, because only the Democratic debates are on the weekends. Republican debates are always on a weeknight when people will actually be watching. But Debbie Wasserman Schultz, head of the Democratic National Committee, has been making sure that the Democratic debates are only on nights when people won't be watching, because you've got to protect Hillary, I guess. And these debates don't do her any favors. I think that Bernie Sanders came away the winner. I wouldn't say the clear winner Sunday night, but I made an observation that it seems like he just manages to one-up Hillary in these debates. Hillary is a very good debater, but I think Sanders might be even better. So there's that. If you want to listen to that, I'm not going to rehash all that tonight, but of course, Matt Connarton Unleashed 5 nights a week, Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern on IPM Nation 1. And as I said, of course, Tuesdays and Thursday nights, we're also very happy to be on OTR FM. And the television edition of Matt Connarton Unleashed of course, Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, and you can watch that on IPM Nation. So I'll be back doing that tomorrow. Thanks again to John Hopwood for filling in last week. He did a great job. And I'm not sure what the plan is for this week. Maybe I'll get John to stick around and we'll get his take on Hillary versus Bernie because he does his show right before mine on Wednesdays. But he's been posting a lot about that, so a lot on Facebook and various columns, newspaper columns, and so forth that he's been writing. So if anyone would like to join the conversation tonight, we do have a phone line open for you. You can call us at 617-917-4IPM. That's IPM as an IPM Nation. 617-917-4IPM or 4476 if you prefer. So you can call that number, unless, of course, you're Dave Ridley. If you're Dave Ridley, call the other number that we gave you. Because when you call the official call-in number, for some reason, just something always seems to go wrong, and I feel badly. So Dave, if you're listening, I would love to hear from you. Always enjoy your calls, but just call the other number, the secret hotline number that we gave you. It goes to the same place. It just, for some reason, we never seem to have an issue with that one. But for the rest of you, use the number I gave, unless you as well can't get through with that number, in which case I will give you the secret hotline number as well. If I know you, if you're just some random stranger, I might be a little hesitant, but you can call that line or you can text it. 617-917-4476. Also, of course, we have the chat room open at ipmnation.com/live1. You can also tweet me at Matt Connarton, or you can hit me up on Facebook at any time. I try to monitor all this during the live show at facebook.com, the Matt Connarton Unleashed page. Please like the page if you haven't done so already. This is what I was talking about. I saw this right before going on the air. This is from Politico. Watchdog says Clinton's server had classified material beyond top secret. So another scandal on top of a scandal for Hillary Clinton. This story is not going away. Unlike Benghazi, which I feel like has, at this point, really kind of faded. But this story just keeps going. Let me read this quickly because we're going to hit a break soon. Intelligence officials have discovered sensitive national security information on Hillary Clinton's server that goes beyond the top secret level, the Intelligence Community Inspector General told lawmakers in a letter last week. In a copy of the January 14th correspondence obtained by Politico, Intelligence Community Inspector General I. Charles McCullough III, it's quite the name, told both the Senate Intelligence and Senate Foreign Relations Committees that intelligence agencies found messages relating to what are known as Special Access Programs, or SAP. That's an even more restricted subcategory of sensitive, compartmented information, or SCI, learning all these acronyms, top secret national security information derived from sensitive intelligence sources. The letter reads, quote, "To date, I have received 2 sworn declarations from one intelligence community agency. These declarations cover several dozen emails containing classified information determined by the intelligence community agency to be at the confidential, secret, and top secret SAP levels. According to the declarant, these documents contain information derived from classified intelligence community agency sources," unquote. Fox News first reported the content of the letter. The letter suggests that the universe of highly sensitive documents that passed through Clinton's unsecured server goes beyond what was previously known. During the Clinton email release process, State has designated more than 1,300 of Clinton's emails at the confidential level or beyond, though Clinton and State say none were marked classified at the time. 6 of those have been flagged as secret, a step below top secret. State and intelligence community, however, have clashed over whether the content of at least 2 yet-to-be-released emails were at the highest classification level, top secret. Those 2 emails actually triggered an ongoing FBI probe into the email matter over the summer, sources say. Intelligence officials insist that both of those messages were top secret when they were sent, and one remains so, while one is now considered secret. However, the emails now deemed to contain top secret special access program information are in addition to the messages previously disputed by State and the Director of National Intelligence, according to a spokesperson for McCullough. The official said the Intelligence Community Review Group is wrapping up its look into the documents and is putting those documents in the SAP category. The Central Intelligence Agency is the agency that provided the declarations about the classified programs. Another U.S. official familiar with the situation told Politico on Wednesday. The official, who spoke on condition of anonymity, said some or all of the emails deemed to implicate special access programs related to U.S. drone strikes. Those who sent the emails were not involved in directing or approving the strikes, but responded to the fallout from them, the official said. The information in the emails was not obtained through a classified product, but is considered per se classified because it pertains to drones, the official said. The U.S. treats drone operations conducted by the CIA as classified, even though in a 2012 internet chat, President Obama acknowledged U.S.-directed drone strikes in Pakistan. The source notes that the intelligence community considers information about classified operations to be classified, even if it appears in news reports or is apparent to eyewitnesses on the ground. For example, U.S. officials with security clearances have been warned not to access classified information leaked to WikiLeaks and published in the New York Times. There's more to this article, but we're up against a break. I'm not going to get through the whole thing, but what we'll do is we'll take a quick break, and then when we come back, I do want to talk about the implications of this, because look, it's bad enough she's being investigated by the FBI, but this combined with the polling data on Sanders, we'll get into that a little bit. This could be very bad for her. This could be 2008 all over again. Just some different set of people taking her down. Well, her taking herself down to some extent. We'll be right back. More Unleashed. Don't go away.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness in action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Welcome back, everybody. Matt Connarton Unleashed as we cruise into our second segment tonight. We are live from the Uptown Auto Repair Studio in Manchester, New Hampshire, where it is very, very cold. Winter finally showed up in this part of the country. We might even get a nor'easter this week. Although I got to tell you, if you're in the Northeast, and I know a lot of my listeners are, it is very very nice to be more than more than halfway through January, and we've only had one snowstorm, and it was pretty mild. So, but I know that there's other parts of the country where it's just the cold weather is just awful, and there's parts of the country where we have listeners where it's nice and warm. So, anyway, it's I'm doing the weather now. Well, I figure I kind of do the news. Maybe I should do the weather. Maybe I'll do sports. Except I don't know anything about sports. Okay. Here's more bad news. So this is from CNN.com. A new CNN WMUR poll shows Sanders trouncing Clinton in New Hampshire. By the way, WMUR, that's our local ABC affiliate here in Manchester, New Hampshire. And, of course, it's significant because New Hampshire has the first in the nation primary, which we're very pleased about. And so we get a lot of attention every 4 years, and the rest of the time everyone forgets about us. But, okay, so this is very bad for Hillary. And we'll analyze that a little bit, but let me tell you what it says here. The numbers are staggering. Bernie Sanders' lead over Hillary Clinton in New Hampshire is on the rise, with the Vermont senator leading the former Secretary of State by 27 points, 60% to 33%. A new CNN WMUR poll has found. That's a big lead. He's going to win New Hampshire. I do believe that. And Trump will win as well. Trump will win the Republican primary. The new poll, mostly conducted before Sunday night's debate, found Sanders' support has grown by 10 points since the late November, early December CNN WMUR poll, which found Sanders holding 50% to Clinton's 40%. New Hampshire Democrats' views on the race are solidifying as well, with 52% saying they have definitely decided who they will support, up from 36% who felt that way in early December. Among those voters, Sanders holds an even broader 64 to 35% lead. But the Vermont senator's support rests heavily on groups whose participation in the New Hampshire primaries is less reliable, notably young voters and those who aren't registered Democrats. There are some signs in the poll that the increasingly contested Democratic race is gaining attention among the state's undeclared voters who are not registered as members of any party and are able to choose which party's primary they will participate in. In the December poll, 38% of undeclared voters who said they plan to vote said they would likely participate in the Democratic primary, a figure that is up to 48% in the new poll. Those undeclared voters are critical to Sanders' support. 70% in the new poll say they plan to vote for him, 25% for Clinton. Among registered Democrats, it's 50% Sanders to 41% Clinton. Still, that represents an increase for Sanders among registered Democrats. The December poll found him trailing Clinton 47 to 40%. Sanders' rise in the poll comes as New Hampshire voters' focus on national security has faded. The previous poll, conducted in the aftermath of the terrorist attack in Paris and as the attack in San Bernardino, California, unfolded, found 23% of likely Democratic voters calling foreign policy and national security their top issue. That faded to 13% in the new poll, while the share naming the economy and jobs, their top priority, has climbed from 18 to 26%. On the economy, New Hampshire voters, this actually surprises me a little bit, but on the economy, New Hampshire voters now clearly give Sanders the edge over Clinton as the candidate more trusted to handle it. 57% say Sanders would best handle it versus 33% for Clinton. Now, a side note, that does surprise me given Bill Clinton's economic record as president. You know, I would think that some of that might transfer to Hillary, maybe some assumptions that she would handle the economy the same way. Now, I guess Sanders' message of, populism and whatnot, look, some of which I agree with, by the way, when he talks about it being a rigged economy and whatnot, he says a lot of things I do agree with. So some of that resonates with me, but then he also says things I disagree with. He wants, all the quote unquote free stuff, free college and whatnot that, none of it's free. We pay for it with our tax dollars. So he concerns me in that regard, but it seems to be really resonating with people. Again, that particular number surprised me. Let's see. Sanders also has astonishingly high favorability ratings among those likely to vote in New Hampshire's Democratic primary. And this part doesn't surprise me, by the way, and is broadly seen as the candidate with the, quote, personal characteristics and qualities that you think a president should have, unquote. Listen to this. Overall, 91% say they have a favorable view of Sanders, while just 2% have an unfavorable opinion. That's improved since December, when 83% had a positive take on the neighboring state senator. Almost 6 in 10 say they see Sanders as the most presidential candidate in the field, compared to 33% to Clinton. That is staggering. A little bit more here. While Clinton is also viewed positively, her numbers lag well behind Sanders' ratings, with 65% saying they have a favorable impression of the former Secretary of State. The poll suggests, now, by the way, keep in mind, these are Democratic voters polled. This is not, the general public, because obviously, if you factor in Republicans, that number, she'd have a very high unfavorable rating. So again, just keep that in mind. This is Democrats. Only 65% saying they have a favorable impression of Hillary. The poll suggests Clinton continues to be dogged by questions about her honesty, with the share saying she is the least honest in the field, now at 55%, up from 46% in December. The least honest. The CNN WMUR poll was conducted by the University of New Hampshire Survey Center by telephone from January 13th to 18th. Okay, there's just some, and it's got a margin of error of 4.8 percentage points. Wow. Okay, now, for the moment, I'm going to stick with my prediction. I'm not quite ready to revise it. And for those who are longtime listeners of the show, no, I've been predicting for a while now. I believe Trump will be the Republican nominee, Hillary will be the Democratic nominee, and Hillary Clinton will be the next president. Now, for anyone new to the show, let me just be very clear. That's not in any way an endorsement. This is not me saying I want Hillary to be president. I don't. I'm probably going to vote for whoever the Libertarian nominee is, and hopefully it's Darrell W. Perry. That's who I've endorsed. But I'm just making up strictly a political prediction. I see Trump versus Hillary, with Hillary winning. I think Trump absolutely. Those of you who you establishment Republicans who are holding on to this idea that it might be Jeb or it might be Rubio, you're dreaming. I don't see how Trump can possibly lose the nomination. The more outlandish, outrageous he gets, the better he does. He's definitely going to win the New Hampshire primary, no doubt in my mind. And I think he'll be the nominee. And I think he'll lose the general election. Now, this all changes when we get to South Carolina. Bernie Sanders looks like he's going to win New Hampshire. And he looks like he may win Iowa as well, the first in the nation caucus. What happens when we get to South Carolina? Now, I've been saying all along, I think once we get to the South, regardless of, winning New Hampshire and Iowa is going to give him just winning New Hampshire is going to give him a hell of a lot of momentum. But what happens when we get to South Carolina? That's the next big one after New Hampshire. And I've been saying all along, I think once you get to the South, Hillary starts winning. And then you've got Super Tuesday, where you got a bunch of primaries in the South all on the same day, because in the South, they're not going to vote for the Jewish guy from Vermont with the Brooklyn accent. They're going to vote for Hillary. But what if I'm wrong? And I'm looking at these numbers, and numbers like this, it's unlikely that numbers like this are that you're going to see just something so completely different in another state. Yeah, New Hampshire is unique, and we have and we're very independent here, and we tend to buck the system, buck the establishment, and whatnot. But still, I can't imagine the numbers in South Carolina, the polling numbers, and I haven't seen any. Maybe during the break I'll see if I can find some. I can't imagine those numbers are that drastically different from New Hampshire's. Now, maybe they are, but what if they're not? Because if Bernie Sanders wins Iowa and New Hampshire and then goes on to win South Carolina, which I don't think is outside the realm of possibility, then it's over for Hillary. And this ongoing FBI probe, the slow drip of information from that, which seems to be getting worse, I may very soon be revising my prediction. I may have underestimated Bernie Sanders, or I may have underestimated Hillary's capability to destroy herself. Just as I've been saying that I think Hillary will win in the general election if it's Hillary versus Trump, because Trump will have beaten himself. Not because Hillary will have beaten him. Trump will have beaten himself. I'm beginning to think Hillary is going to beat herself and Bernie Sanders will be the Democratic nominee, which is stunning when you consider Bernie Sanders. Keep having to remind people of this. Bernie Sanders isn't even a Democrat. He's an independent, which is interesting when you think about it. I mean, he's an independent running for the Democratic nomination. And the two parties, John Hopwood's always pointing this out, the two parties, they're private entities. They can do whatever they want. He can have all the delegates and they can make an executive decision at the convention to give the nomination to Hillary, just like the Republicans can do that. If the Republican Party, if the primaries all go for Trump, if Trump could do a clean sweep, win every Republican primary, and at the convention, the Republican Party, the RNC could say, nope. You know, they're a private entity. They can do that. It's really up to them. There's nothing illegal about them saying, nope, we know Trump won all these primaries, but we're making a decision. We're going to step in. We're making a decision. It's going to be Jeb, or it's going to be Rubio, or it's going to be Cruz would be suicidal. But I don't know. I love the unpredictability of it. It's what makes politics fun. It can be frustrating at times, but it's also fun. It's kind of fun to be wrong. And I think I might have been wrong with my prediction. Sometimes it's fun to be wrong. Sometimes it's not. Some things you want to be right about. I might have been wrong about this one. We'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. More Unleashed coming up. We're only halfway through. Don't go away.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Healing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Healing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Welcome back. Matt Connarton Unleashed. We're live from the Uptown Auto Repair Studio in Manchester, New Hampshire on this very, very cold Tuesday night. Hope you're safe and warm where you are. And if you're not, then you need to reevaluate your priorities. Instead of listening to me, you should be doing something about that. But I'm glad you're here. Sarah Palin endorsed Trump today. Yes, that's Sarah Palin, the former half governor of Vermont, of Alaska. I was thinking about Vermont because of Bernie. Of course, I call her the half governor, the former half governor, because she couldn't even be bothered to serve out an entire term. But somebody in the McCain camp thought that made her qualified to be vice president. So strange. So anyway, at another grasp at relevance, she endorsed Trump today. And you can watch the video. It's up on HuffPost has it, and of course it's up on CBSNews.com. Sarah Palin, I often say I try not to resort to making attacks kind of personal and doing ad hominem attacks on people I disagree with, but I've always said, and I stick by this, Sarah Palin has got to be just the dumbest, most vapid human being to ever emerge on the national stage in a presidential race as she did in 2008. I mean, my God, there is just nothing going on in that woman's head. And and even the way, nobody likes to, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, people don't like to criticize their own. During the primary season they do, but generally, if there's not some sort of reason, some sort of political benefit to criticizing a member of one's own party, most people don't. But Sarah Palin seems to be an exception. There are Republicans. I certainly know Republicans who like her, and who will kind of stick up for her, maybe half-heartedly. But I also have known a lot of Republicans who just roll their eyes at the mention of her name, like, oh. But I think a lot of them blame her, too, for 2008. I don't think it would have mattered, by the way, personally, even if McCain had picked someone who actually had a fully functioning brain. I don't think it would have mattered. I think Obama still would have won. I just think the momentum, the energy, the excitement was with Obama. And McCain just seemed kind of old and out of touch, and it wasn't the same McCain. It wasn't the same John McCain that ran in 2000, and that was a factor as well. The 2000 version of John McCain, I will tell you, I might have voted for him if he had been the nominee in 2000 instead of George W. Bush. I could see myself voting for John McCain. The 2008 version of John McCain, it was this weird sort of right-wing. He just came across like an old, angry right-winger, whereas he at one time had seemed more like a reasonable, moderate to liberal Republican who was very popular at one time nationally. A lot of Democrats liked John McCain at one time. And then in 2008, it was like, who is this guy? This isn't the John McCain we used to know and used to love. But Sarah Palin, so there's this article up on HuffPost, and actually Jen had pointed this out to me. And like I said, the video is there if you want to, submit yourself to that 20 minutes of Palin. But, the reason I feel that she is so dumb, the reason I arrived at that conclusion is because she says really dumb things. Like when she opens her mouth, the noise that comes out of her mouth, she just sounds like a stupid person. Because she is. And so this article up on HuffPost, it says 12 things Sarah Palin just said in what we can only assume is real life. We keep pinching ourselves and it's not working. So Nick Wing wrote this, 12 key things from Sarah Palin's speech today about Trump, where she sounds like Sarah Palin. Okay. Says here, former Alaska governor and one-time GOP vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin appeared alongside Donald Trump on Tuesday at an Iowa campaign event just hours after officially endorsing the billionaire real estate mogul for president. She had a lot to say, so we'll just go ahead and let it speak for itself. Number one, rock and rollers and holy rollers make the world go round. She said, quote, looking around at all of you, you hardworking Iowa families, you farm families and teachers and teamsters and cops and cooks, you rock and rollers and holy rollers. All of you work so hard, you full-time moms, you with the hands that rock the cradle. You all make the world go round, and now our cause is won. Okie dokie. Number 2, Obama apparently refers to his enemies as enemy. Quote, because a weak-kneed capitulator-in-chief has decided that America will lead from behind, and he would negotiate deals with the skills of a community organizer, maybe organizing a neighborhood tea. Yeah, well, he deciding that America would apologize, and as part of the deal, as the enemy sends a message to the rest of the world that they capture and we kowtow and we apologize, and then we bend over and say, thank you, enemy, unquote. Okie dokes. Number 3, no more pussyfooting around, and can I get a hallelujah for the main thing? Here's the quote. No more pussyfooting around. Our troops deserve the best. You deserve the best. He is from the private sector, not a politician. Can I get a hallelujah? Where in the private sector you actually have to balance budgets in order to prioritize to keep the main thing, and he knows the main thing of a president is to keep us safe economically and militarily. He knows the main thing, and he knows how to lead the charge, unquote. Number 4, and now a string of big words. Quote, Trump's candidacy has exposed not just that ramifications of the betrayal of a transformation of our country, but 2, he has exposed the complicity on both sides of the aisle that has enabled it. Okay? Alrighty. Number 5, the GOP establishment is busted, and it's voters who are a word salad. Quote, but for the GOP establishment to be coming after Donald Trump supporters, even with accusations that are so false, they are so busted the way this thing works. You, a diverse, dynamic, needed support base, that would attack. And now some of them even whimpering. They're ready to go throw in for Hillary over Trump because they can't afford to see the status quo go. Otherwise, they won't be able to be slurping off the gravy train that's been feeding them all these years. They don't want that to end. Well then, funny, haha, not funny, but now what they're doing is wailing, well, Trump and his trumpeters, well, they're not conservative enough. Oh my goodness gracious, what the heck would the establishment know about conservatism? Number 6, Palin enters the free association portion of her speech. Quote, how about the rest of us, right-wing and bitter-clinging, proud clingers of our guns, or our God, of our religions and our Constitution? Tell us what we're not. Red enough? Yeah, coming from the establishment, unquote. Number 7, people are wearing political correctness like a suicide vest. Quote, well, he being the only one who's been willing, he's got the guts to wear the issues that need to be spoken about and debated on his sleeve, where the rest of some of these establishment candidates, they just wanted to duck and hide. They didn't want to talk about these issues until he brought them up. In fact, they've been wearing the political correctness kind of like a suicide vest, and enough is enough. Let's see. I don't want to run out of time, so I'm going to skip down. Number 10, did she just say skirmishes? Quote, let me say something really positive about one of those individuals, Rand Paul. I'm going to tell you about that libertarian streak in him that is healthy, because he knows you only go to war if you're determined to win the war, and you quit footing the bill for these nations who are oil rich. We're paying for some of their skirmishes, and they have been going on for centuries, where they're fighting each other and yelling, Allah Akbar, calling jihad on each other's heads forever and ever. Like I said before, let them duke it out, and we'll let Allah sort it out. I assume by skirmishes, she meant skirmishes. Let's see. I'm going to skip down to number 12 because we're running out of time on this segment. These words do not mean what you think they mean. Quote, and you're ready to stop the race baiting and the division based on color and zip code to unify around the right issues. The issues important to me, or I wouldn't be endorsing him. Pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, strict constitutionality. Those things are the unifying values and their time-tested truths involved. These are unifying values from big cities and tiny towns, from big mountain states and the Big Apple to the big, beautiful heartland that's in between, unquote. Let's see. Let's do one more. Number 11. Politicians are getting high on the least fun kind of opium. Quote, he builds things. He builds big things. Things that touch the sky. Big infrastructure that puts other people to work. He has spent his life looking up and respecting the hard hats and the steel-toed boots and the work ethic that all of you have within you. He, being an optimist, passionate about equal opportunity to work. Their self-made success of his, you know that he doesn't get his power, his high, off of opium, other people's money, like a lot of dopes in Washington do. They're addicted to opium, where they take other people's money and then their high is going to redistribute it, right? Unquote. She seems awfully preoccupied with that. Let's see. One more. It's time to savage the status quo. This was number 9. Quote, the status quo has got to go. Otherwise, we're just going to get more of the same. And with their failed agenda, it can't be salvaged. It must be savaged. And Donald Trump is the right one to do that. So what, is she calling Donald Trump a savage? Maybe she's, I wouldn't be surprised if she's a big fan of Michael Savage, the Savage Nation radio show. Big conservative. So there you have it, some quotes from that fantastic orator, the former half-governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin. Nice to have her around. Always good for a laugh. We got to take one more break, and we'll be right back. Wrapping up tonight's Matt Connarton Unleashed. Don't go away. We are live. IPM Nation 1 and OTR FM from the Uptown Auto Repair Studio in a very, very cold city in the Northeast. Stay with me.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Hailing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Hailing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Welcome back, everybody. Matt Connarton Unleashed as we cruise into our final segment tonight on this Tuesday night. We're live on IPM Nation 1 and OTR FM. And again, very happy to announce, if you're joining us late, I can tell you that we are here for another year at the Uptown Auto Repair Studio in Manchester, New Hampshire. Also, the IPM Nation live station powered by Ambit Energy. Learn how you can save a lot of money on your energy bills. Go to ambitrabbit.com and find out right now. Actually, wait till the end of the show, but do it ASAP. You'll be glad you did. As we begin to wrap up, too, I'll just remind you also that the television edition of Unleashed is live every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on IPM Nation, and I will be on there tomorrow, of course, conducting my live program. And I'm not sure what the topic is, but probably just go with whatever I don't get to tonight. I do so love the presidential campaigns. This is I didn't realize I had missed some of this. Apparently the issues apparently Glenn Beck has been pretty critical of Donald Trump and said some things that about Trump that really surprised me, saying he'd be even worse than Obama, which coming from Glenn Beck is that's something. And I saw this an opinion piece that showed up on CNN.com. I have not pre-read this, but I want to just go through some of this and try to figure out what the problem is. Because I would have thought that a guy like Glenn Beck would be on the Donald Trump bandwagon. But so this was written by Dean Obadiah for CNN.com. It says here, Donald Trump has transformed himself from outsider to controversial frontrunner in the race to become the Republican Party's 2016 presidential candidate. This leap in popularity is in spite of, or perhaps because of, his total disregard for political correctness. Here are 10 outrageous quotes from Trump so far. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, there's on that page, there's a list of Trump's quotes. Let me skip down here. This is where the actual article is. It will be a gigantic mistake if the country chooses Donald Trump as its next president, Glenn Beck declared last week. That's a direct quote. He added that Trump will be a monster much, much worse than Barack Obama. Again, coming from Glenn Beck, that surprises me. This may be the first and possibly the last time that I agree with Glenn Beck, except for the part that Obama has been a monster. Beck's impassioned criticism of Trump must be applauded because it's actually a profile in courage. As noted, some of his conservative listeners may hate his guts for his no-holds-barred slam of Trump, but Beck still felt compelled to tell the truth, even acknowledging it could hurt him financially if some of his listeners tuned out. So, what is so terrifying about Trump that Beck would risk financial losses to tell us? Well, he truly believes that if Trump were elected president of the U.S., he would use the apparatus of the federal government to exact revenge upon his political enemies. Beck, conjuring up Richard Nixon infamously using federal government agencies to punish his political rivals, declared, quote, "Do you think Trump has an enemies list? Damn right he does. You don't think this guy with the tools of the IRS at his disposal would use it against his political enemies list?" Unquote. Beck went on to explain his views that he views Trump as a narcissistic character who gets vengeance and gets angry and loves teaching his critics and rivals a lesson. No one can dispute that Trump has lashed out on Twitter and in the media against anyone who dares criticize him or even just fails to kiss his ring. The only question is, would Trump, if elected president, trade in Twitter for federal government agencies to attack his rivals? Before you answer, let's take a quick stroll down Trump's lashing out lane from the past few months. In November, a black protester who had frequently interrupted Trump at a campaign event was punched and shoved by Trump's white supporters while reportedly calling the man a monkey and the N-word. Trump publicly responded the next day, quote, "Maybe he should have been roughed up because it was absolutely disgusting what he was doing," unquote. In July, after Senator John McCain criticized Trump's extreme views on immigration as firing up the crazies, Trump responded by mocking McCain for being captured by the enemy during the Vietnam War. Trump even scoffed at the idea that McCain was a war hero, saying instead, quote, "I like people that weren't captured, okay?" Unquote. After the first GOP debate, where he felt that Fox News' Megyn Kelly had unfairly questioned him, Trump infamously said, quote, "You could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her whatever," unquote. Critics accused him of saying Kelly was having her period, but he denied it. At a recent campaign rally in Vermont, Trump was so annoyed that a heckler interrupted him that he bellowed, quote, "All right, get him out of here," unquote, and then added, quote, "Don't give him his coat, keep his coat. You know it's about 10 degrees below zero outside," unquote. And the list goes on and on, with Trump ridiculing the disability of a reporter who refused to confirm his version of events, to mocking Carly Fiorina's face, to threatening to sue political opponents, to even publicly mocking actor Samuel L. Jackson a few weeks ago for suggesting the billionaire cheated at golf. In fact, Trump made Beck's very point by the way he responded to the TV host's recent criticism in words that I doubt any leading presidential candidate has used to mock a member of the media. Trump declared on Saturday that Beck is a really dopey guy who looks like hell. A weird thing to say. Responding to Beck's appearance Friday on Bill O'Reilly's Fox show, Trump asks, quote, "Bill, why do you have a guy like that on television?" unquote. Putting aside Trump's snarky comments, the alarming point is that the candidate truly is asking, why would any media outlet feature someone who criticizes him? Knowing what we do about Trump, can we trust him as president not to use the Internal Revenue Service or other government agencies to punish his political enemies, as Beck fears? No one can tell us for sure, but looking at Trump's track record so far, Beck was right to ask, do you want that kind of guy as your president? So that's the opinion piece. I think it's worth asking. I mean, look, people, obviously a big part of Trump's appeal is that he is kind of outlandish and outrageous. And I always say, I think he's, I look at him and I don't feel like I'm watching the genuine Donald Trump. I feel like I'm watching sort of Donald Trump, the television character, this personality that he's cultivated. You can look at video of him speaking about politics, speaking about Hillary Clinton from, just a couple of years ago, where he seems much more statesmanlike and presidential than he does now since he declared himself a candidate for president, where he seems, just not like this blowhard that he's sort of turned into. But I feel like it's Donald Trump, the television character, that's running for president. And it's working for him. Look, why shouldn't he be outlandish and outrageous and say terrible things? The more he does, keep out all the Muslims and this kind of stuff, the more he does that, the better he does in the polls. There's no incentive for him to behave in a presidential and statesman-like manner. And people like that, the Joe Sixpack that the McCain-Palin campaign used to talk about. Joe Sixpack likes that kind of stuff. He's Trump's out there saying things that they think but are afraid to say, right? I think that's troubling, because I think what they think and are afraid to say is troubling. And I think Trump really kind of appeals to the worst instincts in some of these people. There is an article. I'm not going to get to it tonight, so I'll try to get to it tomorrow on the television show. This is on Politico. GOP split threatens sentencing overhaul. A bill to reduce prison time for nonviolent offenders is pitting GOP reformers against law and order types. And by the way, the law and order types, let me just say this. I'll get to the article tomorrow on the show, I'm sure, but there's a lot of politicians, Democrats and Republicans both, who it's very important to them to appear tough on crime. We're tough on crime. So they support things like keeping the drug war going when the drug war is a clear failure and we need to end it. But they support it. And they support things like mandatory minimums, which, again, is a terrible thing. And I've railed against that quite a bit on this show. For example, the ranchers in Oregon, I support them. I actually support what they're doing, which I know surprises a lot of people. But what set off this particular armed protest that they're engaged in is what happened to the Hammonds, who they did their time, they paid their debt to society, and then they get sent back to prison after they've completed their original sentence, which I think is absolutely wrong, and that shouldn't happen. But some of how this madness comes about with things like mandatory minimums and why we have this mass incarceration, which I'm glad. I mean, look, there's progress here because now it's actually an issue that's being discussed for the first time that I can remember on both the right and the left. Thank God for that. But but you're still going to have these hardliners who you can't get anywhere with because they want to appear, because in order to win re-election, they got to look like they're tough on crime. And if they look like they're open to fixing the problem of mass incarceration, then it looks like they're capitulating and like now they're being soft on crime. So that's where we are with that. And we'll get into that more tomorrow. I promise. I shouldn't promise because 10 other things could happen between tonight and tomorrow, and I'll end up talking about the 10 other things. But I'll try to get to that tomorrow because I have a lot to say about that. So thank you for joining me tonight here on Matt Connarton Unleashed, live on IPM Nation 1 and OTR FM. And again, from the Uptown Auto Repair Studio in Manchester, New Hampshire, very glad to announce that we're here for another year broadcasting here, and more great things to come in that realm. So thank you all. Thank you everyone for listening tonight. And don't forget too, we do archive all the shows. All the shows that run on OTR FM, they do a great job at omtimes.com/IOM of archiving all the shows. And of course, we archive them all on IPM Nation as well. So if you miss anything, because I know 11 p.m., 11 Eastern might be a little late for some of you, but or maybe you're watching the Daily Show. I don't know. But anyway, you can access the show on demand as well. Doesn't have to be live, although I prefer it that way. Anyway, thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Stay warm, and I'll talk at you later.
IPMNation.com.